Vivo Text.
Try and cover it. All right.
What's the name of the CEO of Vivo Text?
Israel Ibzan. He's coming right here. Come up.
If you could please take your seats, or the afternoon is about to begin. Seconds. 2 minutes, 20 seconds.
Okay. Come on in, sit down. We're going to start in about 1 minute.
This is actually the first name? I think they gave us names.
Yeah, we actually have a first name, but we didn't list the prize yet. So hang on. Which one, the Barbara?
Yeah, private prize. That's the name up there, right? Is she here?
Okay. Elizabeth Danziger, she in the room. She's won a power mat.
Yes?
Yes, there she is. There she goes. Great. And the next.
Name on the back of it and turn it into the registration.
The next one, Ron Rofer. Is he there? Is he here?
Is Ron in there?
Ron Rofer?
Next name.
Next name. Michael Zerbib. Michael Zerbib? No. Next name. David Frank. Oh, is that Michael?
All right. Now we have Soda Stream.
Okay, soda screen for Michelle Rosenbach. Is she here? Michelle, next.
We're really top.
Oops, can't see.
All right. No more? Michelle, is she here? Well, that's Jan.
Elliot Solomon.
Elliot.
Elliot Solomon.
Nope.
Right. Next.
Next.
Steve Hebrook. Steve Hebrook.
You're here?
Yes.
Step up. Come. You want a soda pop?
Soda Stream.
Soda Stream.
It's totally random drawing, but you have to be in the room to win.
Okay.
If you're not in the room, we call your name, we move on to the next person.
Okay, the Hava goes to Ran Gruszowski. Is Ran Gruszowski in the room? Next. Vladimir Feingold. Vladimir Feingold? No. Next. Itamar Cohen. Itamar Cohen, you get an Ahava.
Congratulations.
Welcome.
All right.
Next up.
Any more?
One more. Arik Vrobel. Arik Vrobel in the room? Yes, he is. Excellent.
All right, thank
Well
you.
done. That's it for now.
All right, now you're going to do...
And we're on to our next Fast and Cool.
Right now, and we'll go to Genio.
Yep, and I'm going to introduce Israel Ivzan of Vivotex. Please take your seats. Thank you. And can you please listen up to Fast and Cool Vivotex. So Vivotex is text-to-speech, and it delivers these. They're virtually indistinguishable. Shh. Come on, guys. It's indistinguishable from the human voice. That means that his technology, and he's going to tell us all about it, can make all of us, we won't have to do our jobs anymore because he can speak for us. Israel, come on up and tell us. No. Oh, it's Gershon. Sorry, excuse me, Gershon. Gershon's going to do it. Forgive me, come on over.
So a round of applause for Vivotex.
Thank you. My name is Gershon Silbert. I'm the CEO of Vivotext, and I'm not going to read your mind. We are developing a new generation of the technology that converts written text into spoken text, which is called text-to-speech, or TTS for short. The essence of our business is to have expressivity in the delivery of the voice. The market is telling us that when text is converted into voice and delivered by computers or handheld devices, it has to sound as real as regular voices. Now, why do we need a new generation of text-to-speech? Because the market is telling us that it's not being served by current technology. And the best way to experience is by listening to examples. No. First, the state of the art from AT&T. No, doesn't seem to work, this thing. No.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
That's the state of the art. Now our lively voice.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
That extra quality you hear in our voice, it's what we call expressiveness, and that is what the market really wants. Now you may wonder what makes us come up with that. Well, it has to do with a unique perspective of the relationship between speech delivery and music performance. And that's something I know quite a bit about, having been a concert pianist earlier in my career. Now let's dig in a little bit into that expressiveness business. I mean, this particular application we created for a global game company, and they requested that we create for them a voice of a little girl. So we insert the text and listen to it.
That pink balloon was so special. I wanted to have a balloon just like that one, just for me.
And now for comparison, the competition.
That pink balloon was so special. I wanted to have a balloon just like that one, just for me.
Okay, as you can hear, you can understand what it says, but it doesn't have real expression. Now, we have also, on top of it, capabilities of also editing and adding even more expression to it for people who want to do it in the creative art departments. So I'm going to demonstrate it by making certain changes of the parameters. Hold on, let's see how many things are changing. Okay, now we're going to hear a version that's a lot more excited.
That pink balloon was so special. I wanted to have a balloon just like that one, just for me.
And now sort of a melancholy, wistful sort of expression.
That pink balloon was so special. I wanted to have a balloon just like that one, just for me.
Now, there is no technology on the market that is capable of doing those things. We are focusing on two major markets, the entertainment market and the ebooks market, especially as they relate to mobile devices and the web. In conclusion, I would like to leave you with one thought, that we are living in a digital age, and smartphones and tablets are coming of age and are converging with digital content. In that convergence, text-to-speech is essential. But it's important to remember that unless text-to-speech it actually sounds like real human speech, it's not going to be being used. And that's where we come in. We are going to make sure that everywhere the text-to-speech can be used, it's being used. Thank you.
Well, we're very fortunate to have with us, and first of all, I want to thank you all so much. You are the greatest Israel conference group we've had, and I hope we have many more, so that means you all have to come back next year. It's very exciting. We've had so many good things, and I know you've enjoyed the lunch, and we're going to have some more taste of Israel as we go along. You see the pickles on the table. That's courtesy of Sadaf, which is a local company, but they have it manufactured in Israel and import it. Our next speaker is very exciting. We're thrilled to have with us today the Chief Digital Officer and the Chair and CEO for Digital for News Corp, who's going to come up and speak with Yossi Vardi about what he sees as talks about the name of the game is digital news. And with that, I'd like to invite up John Miller and Yossi Vardi.
Thank you, Sharona. Thank you. Ha ha. This balloon is not, oh, okay. Thank you, Sharona. John, thank you very much for taking time from your busy schedule and joining us in this Israel conference. The two of us came now from the D conference of Wall Street Journal, which I guess you have some relation to through family, through the Rupert.
It's one of ours, yeah.
Right, one of yours.
Or one of theirs.
One of theirs, fine, whatever. What was your main takeaway from the conference? What are the really interesting things that you observed or learned?
Well, so first of all, thanks for having me here. I'm thrilled to be here. It's also great to see so much digital-related activity in Los Angeles, from all things D and now here. It's great. My big takeaway, having just come from there, is everyone was debating whether we're in a bubble, in another internet bubble, and I was quoted.
Are we in an internet bubble, John?
Well, first, some people don't think so. Like Mark Andreessen spoke last night. Mark is really, amongst the most savvy, period. And he made a very reasoned case for why we're not. And I was quoted as saying, if we're not in a bubble, I look forward to seeing what a bubble looks like. And that's kind of how I feel. I think here's what I'm going to get a little more specific about it. I think what's happening is people are identifying what they believe to be winners in categories, like games, it's Zynga, or social networking is obviously Facebook. And once they've identified a winner in a category, they're assuming it gets the full value of being that there's not an executional risk involved in getting from wherever they are today to achieving those values. And they're giving them credit for having achieved it already. And so I don't know if that means we're in a bubble or not, but I think that's kind of what is happening. Winners are being called, and they're getting full value for being winners even before they've executed against the promise of the category.
Okay, thank you. As the Chief Digital Officer of News Group, what keeps you most busy?
The biggest thing, I think, for our company and all the so-called traditional media companies, or at least the very large media companies, is are we going to continue to make most of our economics inside of a big bundle that in this country is cable and satellite, you're sold on as a bundle, or is that going to start to break down? And there's cord cutting that's been discussed, there's over the top, all these variations. But that's truly the heart of the question in economic terms for all the media companies right now. And so everyone's trying to do what I call, walk and chew gum, which is both to preserve the best economics that they have, which is the existing model, and at the same time to give consumers access to products in ways that are consistent with how people want to consume these days.
Now, we saw that about, I think last year, 30% of HD TV which were sold had in them already a computer motherboard. And this, of course, creates a huge ecosystem ready to accommodate internet into the TV. And how do you see how the TV will look like, let's say, in 3 to 5 years?
Well, I think you've asked the question in the right time frame, because yes, it's true. In fact, I think TVs that are being sold now are more than 30% internet enabled, but people aren't turning them on. Well, they're turning on the TVs, but they're not enabling the internet side. So in fact, even though the TVs are internet enabled, they're not being accessed and used that way. And I think over the next 3 to 5 years, they will be. And then it's really going to be much more of a 3-screen world. You're going to go from your smartphone, your tablet, and your TV, and those are going to be linked things. And you might start watching a program on a tablet and finish it when you walk in the house on the TV, and vice versa. And so you're going to start to see all of those things linked at the operating system level, and everyone's building that way, and I think at the behavior level, certainly within 3 to 5 years. So we're all going to be multi-screen consumers of video, and I think the last word on that is important. I think one of the things we all know this is social networking, big, mobile, big. I believe people have actually underestimated video. I think video we're just beginning to see video consumption. I think video consumption is going to take off.
Now, a lot of advertisement migrated from the TV to the internet because the ability to track and to know statistics and demography and to do targeting, etc. When you have this kind of new TV, which is internet enabled, do you think that advertising money will go back to the TV?
Absolutely great question. I think the answer is, wait, you said back to TV?
Back to the new TV.
The new
back
TV.
to the big screen in the
back
living
to the big
room.
screen. I think it'll start to get linked. It'll be wherever that audience is. So this is one of those other big questions. So it goes like this. One is, can you really link it? Right now the answer is no. I can buy a bunch of TV spots over here, and I can buy a bunch of internet whatever over there. What I don't know is, did I talk to the same people or different people? So when it gets linked in that three-screen world, I'll know that. And then my buying gets more efficient. Then I can buy across that because I'm going to be basically following audiences. I'm going to follow my audience wherever they are. And that's going to unleash dollars, advertising dollars, across that entire video system. And that's one of the reasons I think video is going to continue to really grow. So the answer is, today, hard to impossible. In your 3 to 5 years, done. Done and big movement of dollars.
Good. By the way, I want to make a pause and to make a statement, not a question, since this is the Israel conference, and Fox is also part of the family. I would like to state on behalf on everybody in this room that we love the objectivity of Fox as far as Israel is concerned. And please convey it to Mr. Morduk and the rest of the staff.
It just comes naturally from fair and balanced coverage.
Good. Now, in Israel, you have NDS, which really was one of the pioneers, if not the pioneer, of controlled access, how you call conditional access, and you have, of course, RSA came from Israel, etc., which also affect security of transmission and other things. Are you willing to share with us a little bit? And you interacted with a lot of Israelis through your career, and as we know, it's not always the simplest, it's not always the So can you share with us your view and what do you think about the Israeli technology and the ecosystem over there?
First, on NDS, as you may, news data systems that Yossi was referring to, we've had a long history being directly involved in an at-scale Israeli company. And NDS is doing very well in broadening its offering, going more into what's called authentication, which relates to the very first question about how you're going to watch bundles and things like that around the world, and is a very, very strong company. And its technology is considered world-beating in its area. So it's certainly, that alone has given News Corp a terrific feeling about being involved in Israel. What I also feel from my experience in various incarnations is that the depth of technology expertise is really high. There was a phrase used at All Things D, I don't know if you caught it, Yossi. Reed Hastings used it, he called it talent density, which I'm now going to use all the time. He's basically saying we're not looking for the most people, we're looking for the best concentration of the most talented people. And I think right now Israel comes pretty close to that definition in the technology areas. And so also last week we hosted a group of companies through News Corp in New York that I hosted that was quite impressive in these particularly video spaces.
What do you mean quite impressive? Very impressive.
Hugely impressive. And it was specific. We had said we were interested in things like what we're talking about. We're interested in video and advertising related to that. And literally there was a dozen companies that came through that were right on point, that were very much in keeping with that. And I think, and I'm going to make a prediction, New York, as you may know, New York is starting to feel better in the digital era. There's kind of a Silicon Alley boom going on, and much more vibrancy to New York. I'm a native New Yorker. But the depth of engineering in New York is not as great as it is in Silicon Valley. And I believe what we're going to see is in particular, I don't mean to put anything about Los Angeles, but I think we're going to see a very strong New York-Israel connection. And a number of the companies that came through were already doing that, where the technology was developed in Israel, but they had kind of a New York business office. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that, variations on that theme. And I think there's going to be a very strong, not only U.S.-Israeli connection, but I'm going to very specifically New York-Israeli connection that I think is going to help and be a big influence on New York rising as a whole in the digital technology areas.
Good. John, are you willing to take 2 or 3 questions from the audience before you desert us until next year? Sure. Because we are not going to give up to you. We want you here next year as well. Anybody has a question? No questions? All figured out? and scream.
Talk a little bit more about the video that you think is dynamic, that you're looking for.
We're looking for in terms of video.
Yeah, the content,
Okay.
the thrills, the spills.
I'll tell you what I think is going on in the industry, and I'll think about News Corp in the process. But I think there's a very interesting moment. It's literally happening right now. That is, you're seeing that there are new channels of distribution opening up that didn't exist, and it's happening for real. This is the kind of thing that's been talked about for a while, but it's happening for real. That includes Netflix, which is now a new avenue of distribution, not just for library product, but new product. Google has made it very clear that through YouTube, they intend to, they call it the channelization of YouTube, to create many new channels. Other people are going to do this. So I think we're about to see web video become a real force. And that goes to that's good, that's good news overall, but it's also for companies like us, we have to figure out how we preserve our existing world as well as what's our place in that world. And I think you're going to see it around areas that have had a hard time getting on the cable and satellite dial, so to speak. So for example, there's a single food network on cable and satellite in the United States. But food's a huge category, and there's a lot more that can be done there. So I think you're going to see this expansion of channels. I think that's number one. And that'll go back to your advertising question, that there'll be a lot more advertising. Advertisers are now ready to accept that, whereas even a few years ago they were not. And that will help more of it get made. The second is everyone has to figure out, if you're in a big company like us, what really differentiates you. So you're going to see much more event-type stuff. Like American Idol has become a big event. It's the #1 show on American television. And it's just an extraordinary event. So I think you're also going to see this split between this kind of very, very high-end stuff and then this decent, good quality other things that I was beginning to describe. And I think what sort of started it all on the web, like the UGC, they call it user-generated content, I think is going to fall down to much, much less usage. That's my personal prediction. And I think we're going to see a sort of migration up the scale. And I think that's the next big phase in terms of a business. In terms of video generally, I mean, iPads and everybody has cameras on them. And so we're going to just see an explosion of video on a personal level going everywhere. It's going to be a big bandwidth hog. But in terms of the business, I think you're going to see it start to tend and stratify up the scale.
John, maybe you can share with us a word about two of your recent initiatives. One is the Daily, and the other one is the group Quest into Education.
Yeah. Oh, good. Thank you for asking that. Yeah. So the Daily is a publication, not a newspaper, because there's no paper. It's a publication that was purpose-built for the tablet experience, specifically the iPad. And it really was Rupert Murdoch's idea, which was he got so excited when he saw the tablets, he thought, wow, this is a new medium. And instead of just taking, which we're also doing, stuff like the Wall Street Journal and moving it over and creating an iPad app, which is fine and great, why don't we try to do something really new and do it from the ground up for that thing? And it's been very exciting because we really built something just for that purpose. Now, it'll expand to other purposes over time, but we were able to not compromise that position and to really use the technology and 3D photography and video and try to make it all media. In fact, we had experimented with something like the company that was just up before us, which was text-to-speech. And I was actually looking at it with interest. Because we want to turn have them read. We actually physically have somebody read the top 10 stories of the day on the Daily. But if we could use technology like that, maybe we don't need to do it in that old archaic way of someone actually reading. And so it's been very exciting, and it's the #1 subscription product in the Apple Store, which means Apple is thrilled, and Rupert Murdoch wants it to be 10 times bigger. Trust me on that.
On whom he put the pressure.
So that's the Daily. And stay tuned, much more coming in that area, but it's been very exciting. On education, we both have a mission around it and a business belief. The mission is that we really, as a company, and this also stems from Rupert, but I think we're all there, that education, not only worldwide, but most certainly in the United States, needs to be improved, and it specifically needs to be and must be approved by the application of technology. And so we believe that. The second is we have a business proposition around it that we think we can be instrumental in helping aggregate, create, put together those technologies that have a real impact. And one of the most recent high-profile folks who've joined News Corp to head this up is a guy named Joel Klein, who was formerly chancellor of the New York City schools. And if you're in that area, I mean, certainly one of the most highly regarded educators in the world. And so that is a sort of an enterprise-level mission for the company now.
Now, we cannot let you off the hook, you know, with just easy questions, so one a little more tricky. What is the future of the journal itself? The journal.
The Wall Street Journal is in good shape. It's actually now the #1 newspaper in America. Now, I am talking about print, so it's the #1 print newspaper in America. It is also the #1 subscription, digital subscription of any kind, I think, in the content business. I mean, separate from like Netflix or so on. It has over 1 million digital subscribers. So it is growing in both areas at the same time, which, frankly, I don't know everybody's in that business because they don't necessarily break it out that way. But we believe it may be the only actual paper that's doing that. And at the same time, it's maintained, you know, kind of a very loyal base in both worlds. I actually read the journal now on my iPad. I don't buy the print edition anymore. I read it on the iPad. So, again, the iPad I think is interesting because it can now become a primary experience. And so I think the web, in many ways, was an addition to the paper, if you will, and if you come from that world. In this case, I think the iPad has actually transformed it and has become a primary experience.
Should I invest in pulp mills?
No. No.
John, you were great, and we appreciate the fact that you took time from your busy schedule.
Thank
Ladies
you
and
very
gentlemen,
much.
John Miller.
Enjoy. John, please come back every year. We want to get an update. Consider it an invitation. We'll see you next June. Now, I'd like to invite up Jeff Pulver.
And I'm here, of course, to invite up Carmel Wine and Marvell, our diamond sponsor, for a short presentation. Carmel Wine and Marvell, please come forward. Come on. It's I'm not sure what this is about.
Yeah. Where's Marvell?
Right here. Alan.
Ah, he's here, Alan. Sorry.
Alan came directly from Israel. Marvell's office is just here.
On behalf of Carmel Winery and all the Israeli companies participating in this conference, I would like to thank you very much for your sponsoring, Diamond sponsoring of the event. This is a very special wine. The brother of the wine that won the trophy, the World Trophy last year, so it has just the chance, to my opinion, much better than his brother. And this is the picture of the vineyard where the grapes were taken for. It's called Kayumi Vineyard. Thank you very much for your support. You're doing a lot for the Israeli economy. Thank you.
We are so appreciative to have a great sponsor to see their technology and to see how Marvell is changing your world as you sip a little bit of Carmel wine. Thank you, Israel. Okay. As we race through to another wonderful company, we'd like to bring up Genio. It's a fantastic application that you're all going to want to have on your desktop immediately. And I'd like to bring up Sol Tzvi. She is the CEO and founder of Genio, which is a push technology to anticipate what kind of news and information you want and when do you want to stop seeing it as well. It's brilliant. And Sol, thank you for joining us. You all that at 7 o'clock we have a great rock band, and I hope you're all twittering and telling your friends to come on over and to enjoy music, wine, cheese, pickles. Who can resist? All from Israel that you can have and enjoy through the rest of this beautiful, what's turning out to be a beautiful summer night.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Yossi Vardi just talked about the future of journalism, so this is on the same topic, I would assume. My name is Sol Tzvi. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Genio Innovation. I would like to talk with you today about personal universe and the meaning of choices in only 5 minutes. So this is a big challenge. Let's start it. So one of the modern Western society values is freedom, the freedom of living, the freedom of choice. To maximize freedom, we need to maximize choices. And as many choices that we have, our expectation get really, really high. And when that's happening, we try to envision our best choices that will fit to the perfect thing. And we end up just getting the good results instead of the perfect results, which might make us really frustrated. So the cost of the freedom of choice is actually time, our time, and some of it is our happiness. So the humankind invented personalization. If you don't know what personalization is all about, it's a smart automatic decision makers system that based on relevancy. Relevancy that's based on our past behavior, which is not really the best predictor of our future behavior, right? So companies such as Facebook and Google actually filtering choices from us instead of giving us the freedom of choice. And we end up with all this, machine learning, invisible algorithms and stuff like that, and we end up having what we want to see instead of what we need to see. So it seems that the word is missing the points, my friends. So personalization is all about, it's not all about filtering the web for us. Isolating people in their own island of information is not a way to go, and this is where Genio get into this picture. So what is Genio all about? Genio is a personalized newspaper-style homepage, which you never need to do anything. It's the really, I think, fulfilling the promise of what we heard many years ago about what personalization is all about. You install Genio or your Mac or your PC device, and it automatically identifies your topic of interest. Not just topic of interest, micro topics. Instead of understand that I'm really focusing on conferences, for example, Genio knows that I care about the Israel conference. It leads by Yossi Vardi and focus on technology. Genio knew all this by itself. It identified the differences between long and short term of interest. And everything that you can see on the left side, it's all items that match to these dynamic and changing areas of interest of mine. And you can see that also I get a lot of items from my social networks. So the other thing that Genio does is actually try to fit and match between my social networks and my current area of interest. So we don't rely on Facebook and Twitter algorithm to do this match. So many times you will see things on Genio which you would never gonna see on your Facebook wall. All the sources that you're gonna see here are my sources. I never needed to preset anything in advance like other smart news readers like Google Reader and smart RSS filters and readers, which you never always need to say that I'm into CNN and I like Fox News and what are the sources that I really like or the topics that I'm interested in. I always need to opt in and opt out from all these sources. And with Genio, I never need to do anything. It's actually doing everything with its magic sauce by itself. So going back to the presentation, I was trying to think what's going to be the wow effect of this presentation. But because we're talking about news and information, the wow effect would only happen when you try it yourself. It could then only happen when you'll install Genio, download it, and give it a chance to surprise you. Because, as I mentioned before, we heard about personalization many times. And all the big companies, when they offer us a personalization, they usually take our privacy from us. This is one thing. And actually, the other thing is that they give us items based on our friends, which is the terms of it is collaboration filtering. And we would like some kind of solution that will combine our behavior with our friends' behavior, but in some way will predict our next steps. Like not only what we want to see, but what we also need to see. So if there's a tsunami happening in Japan, I could never read about Japan before, but I would still like to read about it. So this is what Genio is all about, to bring us a real personalized experience that combine many, many machine learning algorithms to give us the full personalized experience. So why Genio is the next big thing in the content world? Because it's the first and only fully automatic personalized start page with full privacy that's really good for the layman users and for the advanced users. I'm done with time, right? Okay, thank you guys.
We're going to vote later what was the most fast and cool, but not until we see them all. That was pretty wild. So I'm sure you're going to want to download that and see if it can anticipate what you want. As we move along this afternoon, we are going to really enjoy the next panel. So how many of you have been playing at Sidekick earlier today? Have had a chance to go to the pavilion area? Okay, so those of you who haven't raised your hands, at the networking break, which we'll have shortly after this next panel, I want you to all go over to Sidekick and play during networking. But that's only after, over there, thank you very much, right over there. And that will be right after we have another drawing just before the networking break. And then we'll have a drawing for the prizes right after the networking break. And then we're on for some beautiful other speakers. But before we get to them, I want to introduce Cool Content and Convergence, where you're going to learn all about why Microsoft is making more money than ever, all thanks to Israel. You're also going to learn about IAC, MindSpark IAC, and what they're doing in Israel. You're going to learn about a fabulous company that last year, I have to tell the story, I got a call from the CEO of the company who said, I'm going to talk on Fast and Cool. And we ran out of spaces. And much to my chagrin, 3 months later, this company was acquired for a phenomenal sum, so I'm very happy that they're joining us this year. That's 5 Min. You're going to learn all about Kaltura. It's an open source video platform, and all of this is going to be led by the best VC in all of Israel, Genesis Partners, our own Johnny Sachs. And I'd like to introduce him now to take this panel on a wild tour, and stay in your seats because you're going to love every minute of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharona. Good afternoon, everyone. This panel is going to focus on the changing world of technology, changing world of content, of media, and the place that Israeli innovation actually plays in making an impact on the way that consumers access and consume content. Now, technological convergence, or the interlinking of computing, other information technologies, media content, communication networks, that has occurred as the result of the popularization of the internet, as well as services, apps, business methods, activities that have emerged in the digital media space. I think we all can agree have changed our lives and are changing our lives. Gaming consoles are now also web browsers, social networking tools. Television, radio, and newspapers have converged into one and can be consumed on the same platform. And individual consumers interact with others on a social level using various platforms and services to create new experiences, new forms of content, and indeed new communities. This is not just a technological shift, but also a social and behavioral shift that alters relationships between consumers, markets, and industries. I can go into many examples such as gaming, entertainment, messaging, interactive content, digital media, mobile apps and services, but I won't, because that's why we have such a wonderful panel of speakers. I personally believe that Innovation will come first and foremost from the people. I think it's all about the people. That's why I think Israel will continue to play such an important role in this space, because of the tremendous pool of talent that exists in Israel. But I also think that innovation will come from building the infrastructure and services that harness the convergence of technologies, the convergence of content, the convergence of platforms. And as an example of our activities at Genesis Partners, the beginning of 2011, we opened what we call the Junction, which is the picture that's up on the screen. And this is turned out in the short 5 months that it's been in existence to be a tremendous success. The Junction is an open house for active entrepreneurs. We accept any entrepreneurs that are working on an idea, and we invite them to come to the Junction instead of sitting at a coffee shop or in the garage, to actually be a part of the Junction and interact with others. We think that this convergence of people, of ideas, will create a community of sharing, and is creating a community of sharing, of productivity and innovation. It is the environment of sharing, cross-pollination, fertilization, and support that is where the entrepreneurs are creating magic. So with that, I'd like to introduce the panel. We have Ilan Spillinger, who's Corporate Vice President of Interactive Entertainment Business of Microsoft. Ilan is responsible and the founding father of the game-changing, controller-free Kinect for Xbox 360, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, and the pioneering of a game-changing technology or interface called NUI, Natural User Interface. Joey Levine, the CEO of MindSpark, that houses a wide range of over 50 fun, useful, and popular consumer products that make a consumer's digital life easier and more fun. Ron? I know. Okay, Tal is the co-founder of 5 Min, which is now AOL, which is a syndication platform for video content. Ron, CEO and founder of Kaltura, which offers publishers to easily create, distribute, manage, analyze video and other rich media capabilities. And Asaf Sela, the co-founder and creative director of Sidekicks, that develops and publishes games that use gesture control and motions as their interface. So I'm going to ask each panel member to very briefly please introduce themselves. Please limit it to 1 or 2 minutes so we can continue with the questions.
Thank you, Johnny. I joined Microsoft 3.5 years ago. I joined the interactive entertainment business. The reason I've been passionate to join this business, because it's all up. It's really what we are going to discuss in this panel. The interaction between hardware, software, content, applications, social networks, and experiences. This is about 5,000 people organization. It's a multi-billion-dollar business. It's 10 years old in Microsoft. We are responsible for the entertainment in Microsoft all up across all devices, and also responsibility to win the living room. And that's what we are all focusing on right now. What we have in our organization right now, it's the Xbox 360. This is a platform that we launched in 2005, and there are more than 50 million consoles out there. We have our live services. It's the special gaming experiences, social network that you are getting connected through the Xbox, and you get more experiences down the road. There are like 30 million customers connected through our live services. We have our gaming business, in which we develop internal games. A few of the famous ones are Halo, the Halo sequel, Gears of War, and now with Kinect, we have Kinect Sports, Kinectimals, and others. And the newest business to our portfolio is Kinect, launched 6 months ago, won the Guinness record for the fastest growing consumer electronic device since launch. We were able to sell 10 million devices in the first 3 months since launch. That's my intro.
MindSpark is a division of ISC, became a part of ISC about 5 years ago as part of ISC's acquisition of Ask Jeeves. When ISC acquired Ask Jeeves for about $2 billion, there was a division of Ask Jeeves, which had a different name at the time, that ISC didn't really want, that we were trying to figure out how to dispose of or how to not acquire. And as it turns out, better to be lucky than good, this business just kept growing and growing within IAC and is now one of the biggest contributors to IAC. What MindSpark is historically known as is the toolbar business of IAC. What I like to refer to it now as is the digital snacks business of IAC. We make fun, useful, light pieces of software that help a consumer get through their day. And we distribute mostly through toolbars. Increasingly we distribute, or add-ons to a browser. Increasingly we distribute our software through mobile platforms, through really any platform, any extension, any platform that can host a piece of software. But we create this software for consumers, market it directly to consumers, and we make money mostly when people search through our toolbars. And that's the business for IAC.
So 5min Media is the largest video syndication platform out there, and we believe that a video should be on every page. And if you think about it, the web is huge today. More than 400 million websites. It's hard to understand that, and billions of pages. And in order for publishers, for websites today to add videos to their pages, they need to go through a very complicated and expensive process. They need to produce videos or partner with companies that are doing it. They need to create a technology or partners with companies like Kaltura and platforms that can allow them to do that. They need to monetize. They need to build a sales team and sell. And that's exactly where 5min is coming in. And we've built a library of more than 250,000 videos. We're aggregating these videos. We're not producing them from the world's top production companies like NBC and CBS, CNET, the Food Network, all of the Scripps brands. And then we syndicate these videos to these websites using our technology, which is a contextual technology that can match videos to every page on these websites. So for example, if you have a cooking site and you have thousands of recipe pages, you can immediately, by using our product, and literally in 5 minutes, you can match a video to each one of these pages, and it's huge for advertisers who want to add video to their platforms. So we were bought by AOL 8 months ago, and we today stream more than 130 million video views a month, and we're number 2 in Comscore, right after YouTube, second to YouTube. So it was a great year for us, and that's it. Our headquarters are in New York. We have 30 people there, 40 in Israel, and growing. That's it.
Kaltura is the leading video management platform on the web. We do kind of the pipes behind managing video. So if 5min are more associated with the content and how it's syndicated, we provide the tools for corporations, enterprises that want to have their own video functionalities and their own websites. They need to have both the software and in cases the service to be able to enable their own video functionalities. Kaltura today serves more than 150,000 websites across a lot of different verticals. In the media world, you're seeing some examples here in the slide. More recently, we just closed a deal to do all the video on ABC and Disney Online, and there's many others. But also in the education world, all the top Ivy League schools working with Kaltura. So if you're a student in Harvard, Yale, MIT, Stanford, and you're in class and there's a video being taken and you want to go to the website to actually watch the video, all these tools and integrations are Kaltura. Same in corporations. If you go to Best Buy and you watch the video, powered by Kaltura. If you go to AstraZeneca or Coldwell Bankers or many, many, many other organizations that use online video, the functionality that powers up what they have comes from Kaltura. Many hundreds of millions of streams every month. We are also the only open source vendor in this case. You could call us the Linux of video or the MySQL of video. We're proudly Israelis, all of the co-founders and half of the employees of the company. And one of the things that